Desfrute do novo Icon of the Seas da Royal Caribbean, agora partindo de Miami. É o ícone das férias repleto de atrações, com o maior parque aquático no mar e espetáculos sensacionais da Broadway. Com destinos incríveis no Caribe, incluindo a premiada ilha particular Perfect Day at Coco Cay, a aventura nunca acaba. Icon of the Seas, as melhores férias em família do mundo. Acesse royalcaribbean.com/BRA. Aplicam-se termos e condições.
Quer desenvolver os talentos da sua equipe e potencializar os resultados da sua empresa? Conte com a expertise do atendimento corporativo do Senac São Paulo, que já capacitou mais de 1 milhão de pessoas e profissionais de instituições públicas, privadas e terceiro setor. Construa uma equipe altamente motivada e capacitada e destaque-se no mercado. Entre em contato, acesse sp.senac.br/corporativo e saiba mais. Quer saber? Senac.
Today on City Cast Madison. It's the Friday News Roundup. And no, I'm not Bianca Martin. I'm executive producer Hayley Sperling. And this week, I'm joined by City Cast Madison's Ava Wojnowski and Rob Thomas. The city will close lanes on John Nolen Drive for construction and to test to see if the changes will work in the long run. Got BRT questions? The city is hosting 2 open house events to prepare for the launch of Madison's first bus rapid transit line. And Badger fans who bought commemorative bricks for a brick walk at the Shell are being asked to reclaim what they thought would be permanent installations. It's Friday, September 6th, and here's what Madison's talking about. Alrighty. Welcome to our Friday News Roundup. School is in session, the weather is cooling down, but we've got some hot stories off the presses for y'all. I'm Hayley Sperling, the executive producer of this show, and joining me today for this Friday News Roundup is our interim newsletter editor, Ava Wojnowski. Hey, Ava.
Hey, how's it going?
So good. Also here with a special guest, Madison journalist and a local rock star, Rob Thomas. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Hayley. Thanks for having me.
So stoked to be here. So I'm kicking things off this week, and we're talking about everyone's favorite road. And of course, I'm talking about John Nolen Drive. You love him, you hate him. Either way, if you need to get across town, that's what you're going for. So there are 2 parts to this story, so buckle up, folks. The first part is that the city announced that starting Monday, September 9th, 1 lane in each direction on John Nolen will be closed for roughly 2 months. Specifically, the parts that are closing are Olin Turnville Court and a section of East Lakeside Street, which is east of John Nolen. And additionally, the northbound right lane and the southbound right lane of John Nolen will be closed to traffic to help reroute the bikers and pedestrians of the Capital City Trail that are facing those other closures. And if you're a visual person like me, don't worry, we've got a link to the map with the closures in the show notes, so be sure to click on that later. And these closures are happening for 2 reasons. First, the city is resurfacing the pavement and replacing underground utilities and whatnot. So classic construction stuff, nothing too exciting for there. But the second reason is a little bit more interesting. The city is testing the feasibility of a permanent lane reduction on John Nolen Drive as part of an upcoming reconstruction project. So this is where things get kind of spicy. And Rob, I'm curious, you're someone that drives around Madison. How do you think folks are going to react to that?
Well, no motorist is going to be happy losing a lane. That's just an ironclad rule of driving a car.
Yeah.
But I think certainly in Madison, with all the construction, you get used to that on a temporary basis. The other thing is I think people are really excited about this Lakeview project. And so, when you think about that drive, or whether you're biking into the city going up, John Nolen is so iconic. I mean, if you have visitors to town, you always take them that way into the city because it's so cool. And the thought that that whole area is going to be transformed and be so beautiful and so easy to use for bikers and pedestrians as well as motorists, I think people will, in the long run, will be okay with it.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought up the reconstruction because like that's kind of the bigger picture here, right? So like if you'll recall, the city is working on a plan, they're finalizing their plan to reconstruct roughly 1.5 miles of John Nolen from Broome Street over to Olin Avenue. And the first part of this project is reconstructing the causeway, building new bridges for bikers and pedestrians, as well as adding like traffic calming improvements, shoreline reconstructions for Lake Monona, and some updated like traffic signals and lights. And yeah, like you said, Rob, like people are really stoked about this project. And this is all part of the great Lake Monona waterfront redesign, which is a mouthful. But that kind of leads me into like the second part of this story is that this project kind of has a new name in itself, the Madison Lakeway project. It's a very exciting rebrand from the folks behind the private nonprofit formerly known as the Friends of John Nolen Waterfront. And this group has spent roughly like 15 years advocating and organizing for the redevelopment. And now they want a snappy new name to get people excited and to kind of help folks understand, you know, like what this project is actually about, right? It's really about like connecting Madison's lakes, connecting the city, and realizing that we're all kind of in this together. So I don't know, Ava, like a rebrand is a rebrand. Like, do you think that this will help in terms of like people recognizing and like giving funding and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a question of how can we get more people involved and get more people to know about it. I think the rebrand will definitely help, but I also think just this little construction project that's going on for the next couple of months will get a lot of people thinking about this bigger project at hand and kind of connecting that and seeing what it could look like and what this could mean for the city. So I think a lot more discussion is about to happen with this project beginning.
So true. Yeah, I think like even just like with the lane closures, people are going to be thinking about it top of mind. So like, yeah, like I mentioned, the first steps of this redevelopment are now in sight, starting with that causeway. They're branding this project as the quote unquote community causeway, and construction for that will potentially be starting in 2025, 2026. The city is really hoping that the first part of this project will be funded largely in part through a federal grant, which it has applied for. That's going to be like roughly $12 million, which would be a huge game changer. The status of that is still TBD. It's not good or bad. You know, it's just too early to say. And so the nonprofit group, Madison Lakeway, they're working on funding, right? They're working on just trying to raise as much funding as possible because that's how these things get done, right? And so I'm kind of curious, you know, to either of you, like with the city's budget problems, do we think people will have a different reaction to putting money in the city's budget for reconstructing John Nolen, for reconstructing like the lake and the shoreline and whatnot? You know, we had this big design firm, Sasaki, come in and they like have these massive grand plans and everything is beautiful. And I think we're going to start off with like some sour notes in terms of, you know, lane closures. But do you think people will still be excited for the project along the way? I don't know. Rob, what do you think?
I mean, I think you're right. I think people in the short term will see the headaches on John Nolen and, you know, will only see that short term. And there's, you know, a lot of questions about, yeah, with the referendum, like what should the city be spending? Where should they be pulling back? To me, this is a very tangible project that like you can envision what it would be like and how it would impact the community. The fact that the city is trying to get federal money first, like a big chunk of it, and the fact that they're trying to get a lot of community buy-in through the nonprofit group, you know, they're trying to find whatever dollars they can. So I think you're right. There'll be some sour grapes, but of all the projects, this one is like, well, I can see how much good this would do to the city. So that's a point in its favor.
Yeah, it's huge. I think people are excited about it nonetheless, I hope. And it's so exciting. And before we dive into the future of this podcast, let's take a quick break.
Desculpe a pausa no seu podcast, mas vim contar uma novidade. O Pão de Açúcar lançou uma nova campanha e aposto que a música não vai sair da sua cabeça. Começa assim. Você feliz é tudo de pão, tudo de pão, tudo de pão. E aí, decorou? No pão você encontra tudo que você gosta para deixar momentos felizes ainda mais felizes, onde você preferir e do jeitinho que só o pão sabe fazer. Agora curta o seu podcast.
Alrighty, and we are back on the transit beat, our roads, our cars, our buses. Ava, take us away.
Yeah, so exciting news. We've been talking about it kind of all summer, but the bus rapid transit system is officially getting prepared to launch. I feel like, again, it's been a long time coming. We've seen the red paint all throughout the roads in Madison all summer. Everyone's kind of wondering what's up, but we're finally going to get the answers we've all been waiting for.
Red paint, yes.
Red paint, what we've all been waiting for. But the city of Madison is offering some open houses for folks today from 12 to 3 p.m. and September 10th from 4 to 7 p.m. And these open houses will give the community a closer look at the new BRT stations and buses and have a chance to ask questions about the bus's new features. Some of these new amenities include self-securing wheelchair restraints and onboard bicycle racks. These open houses will take place at the Baldwin Station, which is located at the intersection of East Washington Avenue and Baldwin Street. So kind of looking more a little at the BRT system, my friend Liam Barron at the Isthmus posted a super helpful video explaining more on how the BRT system will work. So there are 31 new stations for folks to use, and the capacity for these buses is 50% higher than it was before, now being able to hold 110 people. And I don't know, I was scrolling on Madison's Reddit a little bit, and the buses are long, huge, massive buses. So I'm interested to see kind of how that works maneuvering throughout the city. But the reason that they're known to be rapid is because of the red paint segments that everyone has been seeing all throughout the city, because these are going to be bus-only lanes, which I think will then kind of help that potential for these large buses to be moving to be a little bit easier throughout the city. And another super exciting feature that we've kind of talked about a little bit in our last Friday News Roundup is that these buses will be electric, just kind of like the Madison public school buses. A couple of those are going electric. And Dane County is also getting a lot more EV charging stations. So Madison overall just seems like they're getting a lot more electric vehicles, including some of these BRT buses, which is super exciting.
I love that. We're living in the future. The future is right now.
We're living in the future. Yeah. And the video that was posted kind of shows how all that works. So we'll definitely have that linked for you folks to check out because it was super cool to see, and Liam did a great job kind of showing that off. But kind of to talk about the routes for the buses. So there's going to be the east to west line, which is also known as Rapid Route A. And this will be set to go and begin on September 22nd. So coming up at the end of this month, which is super exciting. The bus line will go from Junction Road to Easttown through the downtown and campus area. And then there's a longer bus line called the North to South line, otherwise known as the Rapid Transit Route B, which will be connecting North Madison, Central Madison, South Madison, and Fitchburg. But that won't launch till about 2027 to 2028. So got a little time for that, but exciting to kind of get that Rapid Transit Route A going. So we'll have links to all these routes below in our show notes, which I know for me, I'm also a visual learner, as Hayley kind of mentioned earlier. So I want to kind of see where everything's going to be going and how I'm going to be able to move around Madison a lot easier than we've been able to in the past. But I'm kind of curious, Rob and Hayley, if either of you are frequent bus users and kind of what you're looking forward to about this new transit system we've got going on.
I used to be a lot more, but I haven't been recently. The pandemic kind of like shut down the bus for me, and that's when I got a car. So I'm really looking forward to BRT to be able to like go from the east side to the west side much more smoothly than like on a car because traffic sucks and parking sucks, and I don't like dealing with that. So those are my thoughts.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't really ride the buses. I'm on the south end of town, so probably won't affect me until that second project, that north-south project, comes online. But I'm excited about it. Like, I ride my bike quite a bit through town, and what's one of the great things about Madison is that the option not to drive your car in certain places, and the idea of like hopping on the bus and going downtown would be fantastic. So,
yes,
totally.
And you see the red paint and it's sort of like the lake project we talked about. You can envision what it's going to be like, but it's going to be great to actually see it in action and see the tangible benefits of all this work.
Yeah, totally. And I think these open houses are a super awesome opportunity for folks to kind of get a firsthand look at it before it comes out. Although, like, obviously it's coming out pretty soon at the end of September. So a lot of exciting stuff underway. Totally feels like, as Hayley was kind of saying, living in the future here. Excited to see how that kind of changes Madison and maybe makes your commute a little bit easier, even though we might be losing a road on John Nolen. Maybe this will help reverse that traffic anyway. So there's pluses and minuses to all this traffic stuff and transportation stuff for sure. But I know as a student, I was a little bit nervous to use the bus system in Madison before I got to campus. I'm from a suburb outside of Milwaukee, so there's not a whole lot of public transit available here. So when I moved to Madison, it was definitely a change in pace being in a bigger city, but I think this will be a lot easier for students and people who are new to Madison to kind of make their way around town, and will be just a great chance to kind of see the city in an easier way and reduce traffic overall. So I'm excited to see what is to come. But yeah, kind of speaking of UW students in campus, Rob, I know you have a story for us about a little controversy that's happening on UW-Madison's campus. But before that, we're going to take a quick little break.
Desde 2019, a Toyota vem acelerando o futuro, produzindo no Brasil o primeiro híbrido flex do mundo. De lá pra cá, as coisas mudaram. Muitos entraram na tendência que a gente criou. Mas sabe o que não mudou? A confiança do brasileiro na Toyota, que não veio da noite pro dia. Toyota, no futuro há muito tempo. Paz no trânsito começa por você.
Yeah, so this is sort of another construction issue, although a much smaller one, this controversy that's going on the UW-Madison campus between the athletic department and some Badger alumni, and it's about bricks. So bricks. We're hitting the bricks.
We're hitting the bricks with this one, yeah.
Yeah. So there's the Camp Randall Athletic Center, which everybody knows is the Shell. On the south end, there's this nice Hall of Fame plaques that are along the wall there. And there's a brick walkway where since 1993, alumni have been able to purchase commemorative bricks. It started out for like $100 and it went up to like $150. People bought them for themselves or like maybe to honor a family member. And, you know, at the time they were told like this is a permanent thing that people will enjoy for eternity. But I guess permanent doesn't last forever because, as we all know, the Shell is being demolished later this year to make way for a new indoor training facility. And while those Hall of Fame plaques are going to be moved somewhere else, the left department said that they're going to be getting rid of the bricks. And so they've been reaching out to alumni and saying, you can pick up your bricks. I think they have to sort of register by September 8th to set up a time next week to come by and pick up their bricks. And some alumni are not happy about this. They say they were told that these bricks were going to be there forever and people were going to walk on them forever. And, you know, one said it's kind of a slap in the face to have the athletic department say that they got to pick them up. There's some logistic challenges. Like what if somebody bought a brick in 1993? How do you get a hold of them to tell them to come pick up their brick?
Yeah.
And I kind of see the point. Like there was one person quoted in the Wisconsin State Journal who bought a brick for his dad, who was not only a Badger fan, but was actually a player who passed away. And he said they were quite literally throwing legacy and tradition in their own dumpsters.
Wow.
And yeah, so there's like an online petition to get the university to reconsider. And a university spokesman said that they kind of hear the importance of these bricks and kind of the people and the stories behind them. So this might be a developing story. They might backtrack on this. But right now it's quite an emotional thing, which I think I can understand. What do you guys think? I mean, do you think the alumni have a point here, or is like with the rest of Madison, things are changing and permanent doesn't last forever? It sounds like a soft rock song from the 1980s.
Yeah. It's so hard to say, right? Because I am a sentimental girly. So like if I personally had bought a brick, I would be sad to like see it be dug up and be like, here, take your brick back. It does kind of feel like a slap in the face to be like, come get your bricks, you know? But also like, I mean, if we're talking about like sunk costs here, you know, I would rather the students and athletes have a new facility. I guess I'm kind of curious as to why they, like, if they're digging up these bricks anyways, why can't they just incorporate them into the new facility? Like, why can't they be put somewhere? Like, presumably the new one is going to need bricks. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, there's got to be another location where these bricks can easily be moved, whether it be a new brick sidewalk or walkway somewhere else or within the building. So I'm confused why they have to return them. And I feel like your point too, Rob, when you were talking about how like it'd be really hard to get in contact with some of these people, I feel like there's going to be a ton of people who either don't have a response or aren't coming to pick them up. So I feel like it's just easiest to not even worry about that and just completely move them and keep them like in Madison where they were supposed to be. So I'm interested to see kind of how this plays out for sure.
Yeah, I can kind of see it both ways too. Like I'm also a sentimentalist, and I think if they were like, here, this brick was here for 30 years, like generations of Badger fans have walked on this. You can take it home and put it on your mantelpiece. I think in some ways that would be kind of cool, but I have a lot of stuff around the house too. So,
you don't need just like a rogue brick.
Right. But, also, as you say, like it's a big campus. There's a lot of room here. You think you could find room for a brick walkway somewhere. So I am curious to see how the athletic department responds, because it seems to be kind of a growing thing, and it's not the kind of publicity you want when they're showing off this new indoor training facility for sure.
Yeah, it's really not. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on this story. And thanks, Rob, for bringing us this. And our exciting kind of like plot twist news story for everyone who stuck around to the end of this podcast. 1, thank you for listening. But 2, Rob is here with us today as a new permanent member of City Cast Madison. Rob is now going to be our official newsletter editor for Madison Minutes. And I'm so stoked that it's like the 3 of us on this podcast right now. It feels almost like 3 generations of newsletter writers. It's so rare that any of this happens. But, Ava has been here for the past few months and has been doing an amazing job. And I'm so stoked to see what Rob is going to do next. And, for those who don't know, like Madison Minutes, this is my child. Me and my friend Sam founded the company back in 2021. And then we were acquired by City Cast in 2023. And now we have this whole organization. And, never in my life did I really think that I'd be able to say like, we got Rob Thomas, but hey, we got Rob Thomas. So yeah, I'm so stoked, Rob, like to have you on the team. Welcome aboard.
Oh, Hayley, I'm so excited. And it really means a lot to me to get the stamp of approval from you. And you and Ava have been so helpful the last couple of weeks as I'm sort of learning all the tools and learning how Madison Minutes works. And this is fun to be on the podcast and sort of, I've sort of mentioned it informally, but to kind of come out and say, I'm here. I'm part of the team. I'll be doing the first newsletter on Monday. So it'll be in people's inboxes. And I'm really excited. This is going to be super fun.
I'm so stoked. And Ava, thankfully, is not going too far, right? You're still going to be sticking around CityCast.
Yeah, so I'll be doing a little bit more roving, which for folks who don't know, we have rovers who kind of fill in for newsletter editors when they are either out of town or sick. So I'll be bouncing around across all of CityCast, but hopefully I'll be able to make an appearance or 2 in Madison from time to time. So happy to still be part of the CityCast team for sure.
I'm so stoked. So this is truly some huge news for us, and it's going to be awesome, and I'm really excited. And thank you both so much for rounding up all of this news with me this week, Ava Wojnowski.
Yeah, thanks, Hayley.
And Rob Thomas.
Thank you so much, Hayley.
That's all for today here on City Cast Madison. I'm Hayley Sperling, executive producer. We're produced by Phil Circus and Elizabeth Kama. Bianca Martin is our host. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Ava Wojnowski has been our interim newsletter editor, and Rob Thomas is our incoming newsletter editor. You can get more news delivered right into your inbox by subscribing to Madison Minutes. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with someone who's been known to throw a brick or 2? We'll see you back here Monday morning with more news from around the city. Bye!